One day you realize something uncomfortable. No one is coming to take your life seriously for you. Not your boss, not your friends, not even your family. Your life will eventually become whatever you decide to tolerate from yourself. For a long time, I didn't completely understand this. Like many people, I believed success would eventually arrive when the timing finally felt right. When I had more clarity, more motivation, more discipline. I imagined there would be a moment when everything inside me would suddenly click into place, and then, finally, I would begin living up to the potential I knew was inside me. But something interesting happens when you observe people for long enough. You begin to notice a quiet pattern. Most people never reach that moment. They keep planning, they keep imagining, they keep repeating the same sentence to themselves over and over again. I'll start soon. Soon is a very dangerous word. It sounds responsible. It sounds hopeful. It makes you feel like you are not giving up on yourself because you are promising that you will eventually act. But in reality, soon can quietly turn into years. Years of waiting. Years of postponing. Years of living far below what you are actually capable of becoming. I remember meeting someone once who said something that stayed with me for a very long time. He told me that he had always wanted to write a book. He spoke about the idea with genuine passion. He had ideas. He had outlines. He had even chosen the title of the book. But when someone asked him how long he had been thinking about writing that book, he stopped for a moment. Then he said something that seemed to surprise even him. About 10 years. 10 years. 10 years of imagining a future version of himself who would finally begin. 10 years of telling himself that the right moment was coming. 10 years of waiting for the perfect combination of confidence, time, motivation, and circumstances. And the uncomfortable truth is that stories like this are everywhere. There are people who want to build something, people who want to change their lives, people who know somewhere deep inside themselves that they are capable of much more. But somehow their life remains permanently stuck in the planning stage. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunities, but because they never cross one invisible psychological line. They never reach the moment when they decide that their life deserves to be taken seriously. There is a quiet shift that happens when someone finally crosses that line. It is not dramatic. There is no applause. Nobody announces that something important has changed. Nothing on the outside necessarily looks different, but internally something becomes different. They stop negotiating with their own future. They stop treating their potential like a casual idea. They stop saying things like, maybe tomorrow. Instead, they begin asking themselves a completely different question. If my life actually matters, then how should I start behaving today? And that question can change everything, because the world responds differently to people who take themselves seriously. They protect their time. They follow through on the promises they make to themselves. They treat their goals as something real instead of something optional. They stop allowing every distraction to become more important than the future they say they want. And slowly, almost without noticing it, their life begins moving in a different direction. What most people fail to understand is that success rarely begins with one huge opportunity. It does not usually begin with luck, and it certainly does not begin with perfect circumstances. Success often begins with a decision so quiet that almost nobody notices it. The decision that your life is no longer something you are willing to treat casually. The decision that your time has value. The decision that your potential is worth protecting. The decision that your goals deserve your attention. The decision to finally take yourself seriously. And in this audiobook, we're going to explore what truly changes the moment that decision is made, why so many people avoid that moment for years, the hidden psychology behind self-respect and discipline, and how one simple shift in the way you see your own life can quietly transform the direction of everything that comes after it. Because for many people who eventually build something meaningful, the turning point was not the day they suddenly became more talented. It was not the day they became smarter. It was not the day they discovered some secret opportunity. It was the day they finally decided that their life was too important to keep treating like a rehearsal. Chapter 1. The day you stop treating your life like a side project. There is a quiet way people slowly waste their potential. It does not happen through one dramatic decision. It rarely looks like failure from the outside. In fact, most of the time, it looks completely normal. It looks like small delays, small distractions, small promises made to yourself that you quietly break. And over time, those seemingly insignificant decisions begin shaping the direction of your entire life. Many people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they treat the most important parts of their lives like something optional, something they will focus on later, something they will take seriously once the timing finally feels right. But the timing almost never feels right, and later has a strange way of stretching into months, then years, and eventually an entire period of your life. One of the most revealing questions you can ask yourself is surprisingly simple. What in your life do you treat as the main project? And what do you treat like a side project? Because if you honestly examine your behavior, you will usually discover something interesting. Many people treat entertainment like the main project. They protect time for it. They make space for it. They show up for it almost every day. They rarely forget it, but the things that could actually transform their future often receive whatever time happens to remain. Reading becomes something they will do if there is time. Learning becomes something they will return to later. Building something meaningful becomes something they will work on after everything else is finished. Working on an idea that could potentially change their life becomes an "if I have enough time" activity. And the problem with "if I have enough time" is that there is almost never enough time left. There is a story about a man who once said he wanted to start his own business. He talked about it constantly. He had ideas written inside notebooks. He listened to podcasts about entrepreneurship during his commute. He watched videos about successful founders. He even told his friends that one day he would leave his job and build something that belonged to him. And if you spoke to him, you could hear genuine excitement in his voice. He truly believed he was going to do it. But his daily routine quietly told a completely different story. What most people fail to understand is that success rarely begins with one huge opportunity. It does not usually begin with luck, and it certainly does not begin with perfect circumstances. Success often begins with a decision so quiet that almost nobody notices it. The decision that your life is no longer something you are willing to treat casually. The decision that your time has value. The decision that your potential is worth protecting. The decision that your goals deserve your attention. The decision to finally take yourself seriously. And in this audiobook, we're going to explore what truly changes the moment that decision is made, why so many people avoid that moment for years, the hidden psychology behind self-respect and discipline, and how one simple shift in the way you see your own life can quietly transform the direction of everything that comes after it. Because for many people who eventually build something meaningful, the turning point was not the day they suddenly became more talented. It was not the day they became smarter. It was not the day they discovered some secret opportunity. It was the day they finally decided that their life was too important to keep treating like a rehearsal. Chapter 1. The day you stop treating your life like a side project. There is a quiet way people slowly waste their potential. It does not happen through one dramatic decision. It rarely looks like failure from the outside. In fact, most of the time, it looks completely normal. It looks like small delays, small distractions, small promises made to yourself that you quietly break. And over time, those seemingly insignificant decisions begin shaping the direction of your entire life. Many people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they treat the most important parts of their lives like something optional, something they will focus on later, something they will take seriously once the timing finally feels right. But the timing almost never feels right, and later has a strange way of stretching into months, then years, and eventually an entire period of your life. One of the most revealing questions you can ask yourself is surprisingly simple. What in your life do you treat as the main project? And what do you treat like a side project? Because if you honestly examine your behavior, you will usually discover something interesting. Many people treat entertainment like the main project. They protect time for it. They make space for it. They show up for it almost every day. They rarely forget it, but the things that could actually transform their future often receive whatever time happens to remain. Reading becomes something they will do if there is time. Learning becomes something they will return to later. Building something meaningful becomes something they will work on after everything else is finished. Working on an idea that could potentially change their life becomes an "if I have enough time" activity. And the problem with "if I have enough time" is that there is almost never enough time left. There is a story about a man who once said he wanted to start his own business. He talked about it constantly. He had ideas written inside notebooks. He listened to podcasts about entrepreneurship during his commute. He watched videos about successful founders. He even told his friends that one day he would leave his job and build something that belonged to him. And if you spoke to him, you could hear genuine excitement in his voice. He truly believed he was going to do it. But his daily routine quietly told a completely different story. He would return home from work around 6 o'clock in the evening. At first, he told himself that he would spend 1 hour working on his business idea, just 1 hour. But after a long day at work, he was tired, so he decided to relax for a few minutes. He picked up his phone. He watched one video, then another, then another. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Eventually, the entire evening disappeared. And once again, he told himself the same sentence that millions of people repeat to themselves every night: "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow arrived, and the same pattern repeated. Weeks passed, then months. Eventually, years. The business never moved beyond conversation, not because he was incapable, not because his idea had no potential, not because he lacked intelligence, but because his dream was always treated like a side project. And side projects rarely transform your life. The uncomfortable truth is that your life eventually reflects what you consistently prioritize. Not what you say you care about, not what you imagine doing someday, not what you tell other people you are going to accomplish. Your life reflects what you actually protect time for. People who take their lives seriously behave differently in one quiet but powerful way. They stop waiting until they feel like doing important work. They schedule it. They protect it. They make space for it. They treat it with the same seriousness that someone might give to an important appointment that cannot be missed. Think about what would happen if you treated your future the same way you treat an important appointment. You would not casually cancel it because you felt tired. You would not automatically postpone it because something more entertaining appeared. You would not keep moving it to another day simply because you were not in the perfect mood. You would show up, not because you always felt motivated, not because the work was always enjoyable, but because it mattered. One of the clearest signals that someone has started taking their life seriously can often be seen in their calendar. Their priorities are not hidden. Their important work is not something they simply hope to get around to. It is something they intentionally protect. This does not mean that their life suddenly becomes rigid, joyless, or exhausting. It simply means they stop pretending that their future is going to build itself. They stop negotiating with their own potential. They stop treating their goals like a casual hobby, and something subtle begins to change. When you start protecting time for the things that genuinely matter, your identity slowly begins to shift. You are no longer someone who only hopes to try someday. You become someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone who keeps promises to yourself, someone who quietly creates progress even when nobody else is watching. And this shift often begins with one simple realization. Your life is not a rehearsal. Many people move through years of their lives believing that the real version of their life will begin later. Later, when they feel more confident. Later, when circumstances improve. Later, when they have more money. Later, when they have more time. Later, when they finally understand exactly what they are supposed to do. Later, when they finally feel ready. But life rarely announces the moment when the real beginning has arrived. The days you are living right now are not practice rounds. They are the actual story of your life unfolding. Every day you treat your goals casually, that story moves in a direction you may not have consciously chosen. And every day you treat your time with intention, that story begins moving somewhere new. This is why the day you stop treating your life like a side project can become such a powerful turning point. Because from that moment forward, your actions begin aligning more closely with the life you say you want. Not perfectly, not immediately, not without setbacks, but consistently. And consistency over time has a remarkable way of transforming ordinary effort into extraordinary results. The people we admire rarely began with extraordinary advantages. Many of them started with something far more important. They began treating their life like the main project. They decided that their future deserved their attention. They decided that their time deserved protection. They decided that their goals deserved action. And once that internal shift happens, the direction of everything begins to change. Because when you stop treating your life like something you can postpone, you begin living as though the life you want is something you are responsible for creating today. And that is where real change begins. Chapter 2. The hidden psychology of self-respect. There is a quiet rule that shapes the way the world responds to you. Most people never notice it, but once you see it, you start recognizing it everywhere. The rule is simple. People tend to treat you the way you treat yourself. Not the way you wish to be treated. Not the way you say you deserve to be treated. But the way your behavior silently communicates your value. Self-respect is often misunderstood. Many people think self-respect is a feeling, something you either have or don't have, something connected to confidence, personality, or self-esteem. But real self-respect is not a feeling. It is a pattern of behavior. It shows up in the promises you keep to yourself. It shows up in the standards you refuse to lower. It shows up in the quiet decisions you make when nobody else is watching. You can learn a lot about someone's level of self-respect by observing their small habits, how they spend their time, how they react to difficulty, how they treat commitments they made to themselves. Because every small decision either strengthens or weakens the relationship you have with yourself. Imagine you promise yourself that tomorrow you will wake up earlier and start working on something important. Morning comes. The alarm rings, and you immediately hit snooze. You tell yourself, 5 more minutes, then 10 more. Eventually, the plan disappears. It might seem like a harmless moment, but something subtle just happened. Your brain quietly learned that your own promises are flexible, that your commitments to yourself are optional. Now imagine that pattern repeating dozens of times over weeks, over months. Every time you delay something important, every time you choose comfort over intention, you're slowly teaching your mind that your goals are not truly important. And the most dangerous part is that this process is invisible. No one around you notices, but internally, the relationship you have with yourself begins to weaken. This is why people who struggle with discipline often say something that sounds strange at first. They say they feel like they cannot trust themselves. They promise they will start something, but deep down they already suspect they won't follow through. And that internal doubt slowly erodes confidence, not because they lack ability, but because their behavior has trained their brain to expect inconsistency. Now consider the opposite pattern. Imagine someone who makes a small promise to themselves. I will work on this for 30 minutes. And they keep that promise, not once, but repeatedly. Day after day, week after week, those actions begin to create something powerful. Self-trust, and self-trust is one of the strongest forms of self-respect. Because when you trust yourself, you move differently. You stop relying on motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect emotional state. You know that when you say you will do something, you will show up. And that quiet reliability changes the way you see yourself. It also changes the way other people perceive you. There is a reason some individuals naturally command more respect in a room. It is not always because they are the most charismatic or the most talented. Often it is because their behavior communicates consistency. They take their time seriously. They take their commitments seriously. They do not casually abandon things that matter. And people sense that. Without realizing it, the world is constantly reading signals from the way you live your life. When you show discipline, people notice. When you follow through, people notice. When you treat your goals like something real, people notice. But the most important person noticing is you, because self-respect grows internally before it ever appears externally. And it grows through action. There is a powerful shift that happens when someone begins to understand this. They stop chasing confidence as an emotion. Instead, they begin building confidence as evidence. Evidence that they can rely on themselves. Evidence that their words and actions match. Evidence that their goals are not just ideas, they become commitments. And the interesting thing about self-respect is that it compounds over time, just like discipline, just like habits. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you add a small piece to that foundation. Every time you follow through on something difficult, that foundation becomes stronger. Eventually, you reach a point where your identity begins to change. You are no longer someone who hopes to become disciplined. You become someone who expects discipline from yourself. And once that expectation becomes part of your identity, everything starts to feel different. Your standards rise, your focus sharpens, your time becomes more valuable, because you are no longer casually negotiating with your own potential. You are protecting it. This is the hidden psychology behind self-respect. It is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet, repeated decisions. The decision to follow through, the decision to show up, the decision to treat your life like something that matters. And the moment those decisions become consistent, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop waiting for the world to respect you, because you have already begun respecting yourself. Chapter 3. Why most people avoid taking life seriously. There is a strange paradox about human potential. Most people say they want to succeed. They say they want a better life. They say they want to become the best version of themselves. But when the moment comes to actually take their life seriously, something inside them quietly resists. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to keep them comfortable, just enough to keep them from fully committing. And the reason behind that resistance is deeper than most people realize. Because the moment you truly start taking your life seriously, something important disappears. Your excuses. As long as you are only trying a little, you always have a safety net. If things don't work out, you can tell yourself a comforting story. I didn't really give it my full effort. I could have done it if I tried harder. It just wasn't the right time. These stories protect something fragile inside many people. Their identity. Because if someone truly commits to their potential, if they truly give their best effort, then the outcome becomes much more honest. If they succeed, the success is real. But if they fail, the failure becomes real too. And that possibility is uncomfortable. There is a well-known psychological pattern behind this behavior. Some people intentionally hold back effort so they can protect their self-image. It's called self-handicapping. Instead of risking a full attempt and discovering their limits, they keep one foot outside the arena. That way, they never have to confront the possibility that their best effort might not be enough. But imagine a student who always studies the night before an important exam. When the results come back, they have an explanation ready. If I had studied earlier, I would have done better. But because they never fully tried, the question of their true capability remains unanswered, and strangely, that uncertainty feels safer than the truth. This pattern shows up everywhere in life. People delay launching their idea. People postpone learning new skills. People stay in comfortable routines long after they realize they want something more. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, but because staying slightly disengaged protects their ego. There is a quiet freedom in never fully committing, because if you never fully commit, you never fully fail. But there is also a hidden cost. You never fully discover what you are capable of. History is filled with examples of people who faced this exact moment. There is a story about a young lawyer who repeatedly failed in politics before eventually becoming one of the most respected leaders in American history. Before his presidency, Abraham Lincoln lost multiple elections. He lost business ventures. He faced personal tragedy. Many people in his position might have concluded that politics simply wasn't meant for them. But Lincoln approached his failures differently. He treated each setback as preparation. He studied. He improved his thinking. He sharpened his arguments. He took his responsibilities seriously, even when success seemed far away. At one point, he wrote a sentence that reveals a great deal about his mindset. "I will prepare, and someday, my chance will come." That sentence captures something powerful. People who take their lives seriously focus on preparation rather than immediate validation. They understand that effort invested today may not produce visible results tomorrow, but it builds capability. And capability over time eventually creates opportunity. The people who achieve meaningful things are rarely the ones who felt the most confident at the beginning. They are often the ones who are simply willing to commit fully, willing to show up again after disappointment, willing to continue improving when nobody else was watching, and most importantly, willing to risk discovering the truth about their own limits. Because there is something deeply liberating about honest effort. When you give something your full attention and your full commitment, you remove the fog of uncertainty. You learn, you adjust, you adapt, you grow stronger. Even failure becomes useful information. But when you avoid taking your life seriously, you remain trapped in a strange middle space. You neither fully fail nor fully succeed. You simply drift. Days turn into months, months turn into years, and slowly, the distance between who you are and who you could have been continues to grow larger. The uncomfortable reality is that most people never reach their full potential, not because they are incapable, but because they remain slightly disengaged from their own lives. They wait for motivation, they wait for certainty, they wait until they finally feel ready. But readiness rarely arrives first. Commitment creates readiness, action creates clarity, and seriousness creates momentum. This is the turning point that many people eventually face, the moment they realize that avoiding effort does not actually protect them, it only delays their growth. And once someone truly understands that, something powerful begins to shift. They stop protecting their ego, and they begin building their potential. Because the day you stop hiding from your own effort is the day you finally begin discovering what you are truly capable of. Chapter 4. The quiet discipline that changes your identity. Most people imagine that the biggest changes in life come from major decisions. A new job, a major opportunity, a sudden breakthrough, a powerful moment of inspiration. But when you study the lives of people who build something meaningful, you begin noticing a different pattern. The most powerful changes rarely begin with dramatic moments. They begin with quiet discipline. Small actions repeated consistently, for long enough to reshape who you believe you are. And identity is one of the most powerful forces guiding human behavior, because people rarely continue acting against the person they believe themselves to be. If someone believes they are lazy, their actions will eventually begin confirming that belief. If someone believes they are disciplined, their behavior will gradually begin following that belief. But here is the interesting part. Identity is not fixed. It is built. And it is built through evidence. Every action you repeat becomes a small vote for the type of person you are becoming. If you consistently delay important work, you reinforce the identity of someone who procrastinates. If you consistently show up and follow through, you begin reinforcing a completely different identity. Someone who can be trusted, someone who follows through, someone who takes their life seriously. The transformation does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens gradually through small promises kept over time. There is a well-known story about a young basketball player who later became one of the most respected athletes in the world. Kobe Bryant was known for something that teammates and opponents often talked about with a mixture of admiration and disbelief: his discipline. One Olympic teammate once described an experience that perfectly captured this mindset. He arrived at the training facility early in the morning, around 5 to strong. He thought he was being responsible by showing up earlier than most of the other players. But when he entered the gym, Kobe Bryant was already there, sweating, practicing, completely focused. Hours later, when the teammate finished his workout and left, Kobe was still training, and when he returned later that day, Kobe was still inside the gym. Curious, he eventually asked Kobe a simple question: "Why are you working so much harder than everyone else?" Kobe's answer revealed a philosophy that shaped his entire career. He said he wanted to know how serious everyone else really was, because once he understood their limits, he knew how far he needed to push beyond them. That story is not really about talent. It is about identity. Kobe did not train like someone who hoped to become great someday. He trained like someone who had already decided who he was, someone who prepared while others rested, someone who kept pushing when others stopped, someone who treated improvement as a daily responsibility. And over time, those quiet daily choices built something powerful. Not just skill, but reputation, trust, respect. People eventually began associating his name with discipline itself. But discipline rarely begins at that level. It usually starts much smaller, with one simple decision. I will show up today. Not for hours, not perfectly, just consistently. There is a reason small habits are so powerful. They reduce the emotional barrier to action. When you promise yourself that you will work for just 10 minutes, it becomes much more difficult to justify avoiding the task completely. When you promise yourself one page, one set, one small step, the mind has fewer excuses available. And something interesting happens when those small steps begin accumulating. Momentum starts to build. Momentum is one of the most underestimated forces in personal growth. Because once progress becomes visible, motivation often begins to follow action. Not the other way around. Many people wait for motivation before they begin. Disciplined people begin, and motivation eventually catches up. Each small action sends a signal to your mind. This is who I am now. At first, that signal feels weak. Your old habits still pull you backward. Distractions still appear. Comfort continues whispering that today does not really matter. But the more often you show up, the stronger that signal becomes. Eventually, your identity begins to shift. You stop thinking about discipline as something unusually difficult. It becomes something normal, something expected, something that begins to define you. And once your identity shifts, behavior becomes easier to maintain, because now you are not constantly forcing yourself to act. You are simply behaving in alignment with the person you believe you are. This is the quiet discipline that changes lives, not dramatic bursts of motivation, not temporary enthusiasm, but steady, repeated effort, the kind of effort that may look ordinary from the outside, but quietly creates extraordinary results over time. And the moment someone realizes that discipline is not mainly about intensity, but about consistency, something powerful happens. They stop chasing perfect days, and they start building reliable ones, because the person who shows up consistently, even imperfectly, will always move further than the person who keeps waiting for the perfect moment. And over time, those small daily decisions begin shaping something far greater than success. They shape the person you become. Chapter 5. The moment you stop making excuses. There comes a moment in many people's lives when they quietly realize something uncomfortable. The biggest obstacle standing in front of them is not a lack of opportunity. It is not bad luck. It is not other people. It is the collection of small excuses they have been repeating to themselves for years. Excuses are powerful because they sound reasonable. They do not feel like surrender. They feel like explanations. I'm too tired today. I'll start when things calm down. It's not the right time yet. On the surface, these sentences seem completely harmless. In fact, most people hear and repeat them so often that they eventually stop questioning them. But if you observe closely, excuses have a predictable pattern. They always protect comfort in the present while quietly stealing progress from the future. And the real problem with excuses is not that they exist. Everyone has moments when life genuinely becomes difficult. The real problem begins when excuses become a habit, when they become the automatic response to anything that requires effort. Once that habit forms, something subtle happens. Your mind starts looking for reasons not to act. It begins scanning for obstacles instead of possibilities. Instead of asking, how can I make this work? The question becomes, why is this difficult? And once the brain learns to search for excuses, it becomes extremely good at finding them. There is an interesting psychological phenomenon behind this. The human brain is designed to conserve energy. From an evolutionary perspective, avoiding unnecessary effort helped our ancestors survive. But in modern life, that same instinct can quietly sabotage progress. Because the brain interprets effort as discomfort, and discomfort triggers resistance. So when a difficult task appears, your mind instinctively suggests alternatives. Maybe later. Tomorrow would be better. You deserve a break. Those thoughts feel natural, they feel logical, but they rarely move your life forward. Successful people experience the same internal resistance as everyone else. They feel tired, they feel uncertain, they feel tempted to delay difficult work. The difference is not that they never hear excuses. The difference is that they stop negotiating with them. There is a powerful shift that happens the moment someone recognizes this pattern. Instead of asking whether they feel ready, they begin asking a different question. What needs to be done right now? That question cuts through hesitation because it focuses on action instead of emotion. Consider the daily routine of someone who takes their goals seriously. When they say they will wake up early, they wake up. Not because they always feel motivated, but because the decision was already made. When they schedule time to work on something important, they show up. Not because the conditions are perfect, but because their commitment is not negotiable. At first, this approach feels uncomfortable. Breaking the habit of excuses requires discipline. It requires pushing through moments when comfort tries to pull you backward. But something remarkable happens when you stop giving excuses authority over your decisions. Your sense of control begins to return. You stop feeling like your life is driven by moods. You stop feeling like circumstances determine your progress. Instead, you begin experiencing something far more powerful. Agency. The belief that your actions matter. The belief that your effort shapes outcomes. This belief transforms the way you approach challenges. Difficult work stops feeling like punishment. It becomes an investment, something you do because it moves you closer to the life you want. There is a simple truth that disciplined people eventually discover. Action weakens excuses. Every time you act despite resistance, the voice of hesitation becomes slightly quieter. The mind learns that discomfort does not mean danger. It simply means growth. And once that lesson becomes familiar, excuses begin losing their power. They still appear, but they no longer control your behavior. Instead of listening to them, you acknowledge them and continue moving forward. This is the moment where many people experience a turning point, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because they stop waiting for ease. They stop waiting for the perfect day. They stop waiting for the perfect mindset. They act anyway. And with each action, something inside them becomes stronger. Confidence begins to grow. Not the loud kind of confidence that seeks attention, but the quiet kind that comes from repeated proof. Proof that they can rely on themselves. Proof that effort creates movement. Proof that excuses are not permanent barriers. They are simply habits that can be replaced. Once someone reaches this stage, their relationship with effort changes. Work becomes something they expect from themselves. Progress becomes something they build deliberately. And the energy once wasted on excuses begins fueling something far more valuable. Momentum. Because the moment you stop negotiating with excuses is the moment your life starts moving forward again. Chapter 6. Your habits reveal how seriously you take your future. There is a simple way to understand the direction of your life. Look at your habits, not your intentions, not your plans, not the version of yourself you imagine becoming someday. Look at what you repeatedly do, because habits are the most honest reflection of your priorities. They quietly reveal what truly matters to you. Many people say they want a different future. They want better health. They want financial freedom. They want meaningful work. They want to become a stronger, more capable version of themselves. But if you examine their daily habits, you often discover a different story. Their routines are designed for comfort, not growth. Their time is shaped by convenience, not intention. And over time, those habits slowly construct the life they experience. The future rarely appears suddenly. It builds itself through patterns, small actions repeated day after day. The difficulty is that habits often feel insignificant in the moment. Skipping one workout does not seem like a big deal. Postponing 1 hour of focused work feels harmless. Choosing distraction over effort once or twice seems completely normal. But habits are not measured in single moments. They are measured through accumulation. One decision repeated hundreds of times becomes a lifestyle. A lifestyle repeated long enough becomes an identity, and identity eventually becomes destiny. There is a powerful reason habits shape our lives so deeply. The human brain is designed to automate behavior. When something is repeated often enough, the brain begins turning it into a routine. This process conserves mental energy. Instead of making hundreds of decisions every day, your mind follows familiar patterns. At first, this seems helpful, but it also means that negative habits can quietly take control of your life without you realizing it. You stop consciously deciding what to do with your time. Your routine decides for you. Your environment decides for you. Your previous behavior decides for you. And suddenly days begin to feel predictable. You wake up. You follow the same patterns. You repeat the same choices. Then weeks pass, months pass, and you realize that nothing significant has changed. This is why habits are not just small behaviors. They are systems that guide your life. Every habit is like a small path. Walk it once, and nothing happens. Walk it every day, and eventually it becomes the road you live on. Now consider two individuals with slightly different routines. The first person wakes up and immediately checks their phone. They scroll through messages, notifications, and social media. 30 minutes disappear, sometimes an hour. Their mind fills with other people's opinions, news, and entertainment. The day begins reactively. Now imagine a second person. They wake up and spend the first 20 minutes reading, thinking, or planning their day. Their attention moves toward growth, toward learning, toward intention. The difference between those two routines may seem small, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. But over a year, those small differences multiply. One person consumes thousands of hours of distraction. The other accumulates thousands of minutes of focused improvement. The results eventually begin to diverge. One life feels stagnant. The other begins slowly expanding. This is why disciplined people protect their habits carefully. They understand that habits are not just daily actions. They are future builders. Each habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. If you read daily, you vote for becoming knowledgeable. If you train daily, you vote for becoming strong. If you practice your craft daily, you vote for becoming skilled. And the opposite is also true. If you procrastinate daily, you vote for becoming inconsistent. If you distract yourself daily, you vote for becoming unfocused. If you delay effort daily, you vote for becoming unreliable. These votes accumulate quietly. No single day defines your future, but the direction of your habits does. This realization can feel uncomfortable at first, because it removes the illusion that change will suddenly appear one day. There is no magical moment where everything becomes different. Instead, life gradually reflects the patterns you repeat. The encouraging part of this truth is that habits are flexible. They can change, not instantly but steadily, and the process often begins with something surprisingly small. Awareness. Once you begin observing your habits honestly, you gain the ability to reshape them. You notice where your time goes. You notice the patterns that drain your energy. You notice the moments where distraction replaces intention. And once those patterns become visible, new choices become possible. Many people make the mistake of trying to change everything at once. They create ambitious plans, new routines, and large goals. But drastic changes rarely last. The mind resists sudden disruption. Instead, the most reliable transformation begins with modest adjustments, small habits, consistent actions. Actions that feel manageable enough to repeat tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. Consider someone who wants to build a reading habit. Instead of committing to an hour each day, they begin with 10 minutes. 10 minutes feels easy. 10 minutes removes resistance. But 10 minutes repeated daily becomes more powerful than occasional bursts of enthusiasm. Consistency slowly rewires the brain. The action becomes familiar. The habit becomes automatic. Over time, 10 minutes becomes 20, 20 becomes 40. But the transformation began with something simple: showing up. The same principle applies to almost every area of life: health, learning, skill development, creativity. Progress grows from repeated effort, not dramatic bursts of motivation. And once someone begins understanding the power of habits, their relationship with discipline changes. Discipline no longer feels like punishment. It becomes structure, a structure that supports growth. Instead of asking, "Do I feel motivated today?" they begin asking, "What is my habit today?" That question simplifies everything. It removes emotional negotiation. It replaces uncertainty with routine, and routine quietly builds momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Once progress begins moving forward, it becomes easier to continue. Each completed habit strengthens the next one. Each small success increases confidence, and confidence makes the next action easier. Eventually, tiny habits create a cycle of growth. Effort creates progress. Progress creates motivation. Motivation reinforces effort. The person who once struggled to begin now struggles to stop because their identity has shifted. They no longer see discipline as something external. It becomes part of who they are. And this is the deeper truth behind habits. They do more than change behavior, they change identity. When someone consistently acts with intention, they begin seeing themselves differently. They trust themselves more, they respect their own time more. They believe more strongly in their ability to shape their future. And this belief becomes self-reinforcing, because the more someone trusts themselves, the more seriously they treat their life. And the more seriously they treat their life, the stronger their habits become. And this is why habits reveal how seriously you take your future. They show whether your life is guided by intention or by impulse. They reveal whether your time is protected or casually spent. They reveal whether your goals are truly important or simply interesting ideas. The future is not something that appears one day. It is something that forms quietly through daily patterns. And the moment someone understands this, their perspective begins to change. They stop chasing dramatic transformation. They start building reliable habits because they realize something powerful. If you control your habits, you eventually control your direction. And once your direction changes, your entire life begins to follow. Chapter 7. Raising your personal standards. There is a quiet force that shapes almost every result in your life. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even opportunity. It is your standards. Your standards determine what you accept from yourself. They determine how much effort feels like enough. They determine whether you keep going when things become difficult, or whether you quietly lower your expectations. Most people never consciously think about their standards. They simply live inside the expectations they have slowly built over time. If someone is used to arriving late, being late begins to feel normal. If someone is used to quitting when things become uncomfortable, stopping early begins to feel reasonable. If someone is used to giving partial effort, average results begin to feel acceptable. Standards quietly shape behavior because the human mind naturally tries to stay consistent with what it believes is normal. Once something becomes your personal baseline, your behavior tends to move around that level. This is why two people can face the same situation and respond completely differently. One person sees a challenge and pushes harder. Another person sees the same challenge and immediately begins lowering their expectations. The difference is not ability, it is the standard they have decided to live by. Think about the people who are respected in any field: athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders. They often share one common trait: their personal standards are higher than what the situation requires. They do not work hard only when someone is watching. They do not show discipline only when a reward is guaranteed. And they maintain effort because that is simply how they operate. For them, high standards are not occasional behavior. They are identity. There is a story often told in professional sports about a coach who once asked his team a simple question: "Why do champions practice harder than everyone else?" One player answered, "Because they want to win more." The coach shook his head. "That's not the real reason." Then he explained something deeper. Champions practice harder because they refuse to accept anything less from themselves. Winning is simply the visible result of a standard they already live by. The interesting thing about standards is that they influence even the smallest actions. If your personal standard is low, you allow yourself to cut corners. You allow yourself to skip preparation. You allow yourself to delay effort. But when your standard rises, small behaviors begin to change. You arrive earlier. You prepare more carefully. You pay attention to details that others ignore. You finish what you start. And those small changes accumulate over time. Higher standards do not guarantee instant success, but they dramatically increase the probability of meaningful progress, because every day becomes an opportunity to reinforce the identity you are building. One of the reasons people struggle to raise their standards is that it initially feels uncomfortable. When you expect more from yourself, you immediately notice the gap between your current behavior and your new expectations. That gap can feel discouraging, but it is actually a sign of growth. Because awareness is the first step toward improvement. The moment you recognize that you can operate at a higher level, your old habits begin to feel out of place. You start noticing behaviors that once seemed normal. Distractions, procrastination, half-hearted effort. And slowly, those behaviors stop feeling acceptable. This is how standards evolve. Not through dramatic declarations, but through a gradual intolerance for mediocrity. The moment someone decides that certain behaviors no longer fit the person they want to become, change begins. At first, the change is small. You choose to finish the task instead of postponing it. You choose to prepare instead of improvising. You choose to show up fully instead of showing up halfway. Each decision reinforces the new standard, and over time, those standards reshape your identity. You begin thinking differently, acting differently, expecting more from yourself in situations where you once accepted less. This shift often surprises people around you, because when someone raises their standards, their behavior becomes more consistent, more reliable, more focused. And consistency builds something powerful: trust. People begin trusting your work, trusting your word, trusting your commitment. But the most important trust is internal. When you repeatedly meet higher expectations, your confidence begins to grow. Not the loud confidence that tries to impress others, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. That confidence becomes a powerful foundation. Because once someone trusts their own discipline, they stop fearing effort. Effort becomes familiar. Effort becomes normal. Effort becomes part of who they are. There is a simple truth that disciplined individuals eventually learn. Your life will rise or fall to the level of your standards. If your standards remain low, your results will eventually settle there. If your standards rise, your behavior gradually begins moving upward as well. This does not mean perfection. Everyone experiences setbacks. Everyone has days when motivation disappears. But people with higher standards recover more quickly. They return to the behaviors that define them. They do not allow temporary failure to redefine their identity. Instead, they treat mistakes as signals to adjust, signals to improve, signals to keep moving forward. The remarkable thing about raising your standards is that it changes the way you experience the world. Situations that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Challenges that once created fear begin to feel like opportunities to grow. Because when your standards increase, your capacity expands with them. You become stronger, more resilient, and more disciplined, not because life becomes easier, but because you become more capable of handling difficulty. And eventually, something interesting happens. The things that once felt extraordinary become ordinary. Working hard becomes normal. Showing discipline becomes expected. Following through becomes automatic. What once required enormous effort becomes part of your nature. This is the quiet transformation that happens when someone raises their standards. Their life does not change overnight, but their direction changes permanently. Because once you decide that your life deserves higher standards, it becomes difficult to return to the version of yourself that accepted less. And that decision quietly shapes everything that follows. Chapter 8. The moment you take full responsibility for your potential. There is a moment in many people's lives when something shifts internally. It is not dramatic. It is not announced. No one around them may even notice. But inside, something important changes. They stop waiting for someone else to shape their future. They stop expecting circumstances to magically improve. They stop hoping that the right opportunity will simply appear. Instead, they accept a powerful and slightly uncomfortable truth. Their potential is their responsibility. For a long time, it is easy to believe that success depends mostly on external factors, the right connections, the right environment, the right moment. And while those things can certainly influence outcomes, they are rarely the deciding factor. What matters far more is how seriously someone treats the opportunity they already have, the opportunity to learn, the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to improve themselves every single day. Many people delay taking responsibility for their potential because responsibility feels heavy. When you believe circumstances control your future, you also avoid blame. If things do not work out, you can point to the environment. You can point to bad luck. You can point to limitations outside your control. But the moment you accept full responsibility for your growth, something changes. Excuses lose their power, because now the question is no longer, why is this difficult? The question becomes, what can I do next? That shift in perspective transforms the way people approach life. Instead of waiting for perfect conditions, they begin creating momentum with what they already have. History is filled with individuals who understood this principle deeply. One example is Benjamin Franklin. Franklin did not begin life with wealth or extraordinary privilege. He was born into a large family with limited resources, but from an early age, he developed a habit that would shape the rest of his life: self-improvement. Franklin believed that character and discipline could be developed intentionally, so he created a system for personal growth. He identified 13 virtues he wanted to cultivate, things like temperance, industry, and sincerity. Each day he monitored his behavior. Each night he reflected on his actions. He asked himself simple questions. Where did I improve today? Where did I fall short? How can I do better tomorrow? This process might sound simple, but its impact was extraordinary. Over time, Franklin became known not just as an inventor, but also as a thinker, diplomat, writer, and statesman. His achievements were not the result of sudden genius. They were the result of consistent effort guided by personal responsibility. Franklin understood something many people overlook. Potential is not something you either possess or lack. It is something you develop, and development requires ownership. Ownership of your time, ownership of your habits, ownership of the direction you are moving in. When someone takes full responsibility for their potential, their mindset begins to shift in subtle but powerful ways. They stop focusing on what they lack. Instead, they focus on what they can improve. They stop comparing their progress to others. Instead, they compare their current self to their previous self. This shift reduces frustration and increases focus because now progress becomes personal. It becomes a journey of self-development rather than a competition for validation. Another important change happens when responsibility becomes part of someone's identity. Their relationship with difficulty transforms. Instead of interpreting obstacles as unfair barriers, they begin seeing them as training. Challenges become opportunities to strengthen their abilities. Setbacks become lessons that refine their strategy. This mindset does not eliminate hardship, but it changes how hardship is experienced. Effort becomes meaningful, struggle becomes purposeful, growth becomes visible. And when growth becomes visible, motivation naturally increases. One of the most empowering realizations a person can have is that improvement is rarely dramatic. It is gradual. Small improvements repeated consistently, better decisions made day after day. Tiny adjustments that slowly reshape behavior. This perspective removes the pressure to transform instantly. Instead, it encourages steady development. You focus on the next step, the next improvement, the next opportunity to become slightly better than yesterday. Over time, these small improvements compound, skills deepen, confidence strengthens, opportunities expand, and eventually the gap between who you were and who you have become becomes noticeable. But the real transformation happens internally. You begin seeing yourself as someone who actively shapes their life, someone who is not waiting for permission to grow, someone who understands that progress is built through action, This identity shift creates momentum because once you accept responsibility for your potential, every day becomes meaningful. Every decision becomes a chance to reinforce the person you are becoming. How you spend your time, how you respond to challenges, how you treat your commitments. All of these choices contribute to the direction of your life. And when you recognize this, you stop drifting. You stop living passively. Instead, you begin living deliberately. This does not mean you control everything that happens. Life will always contain uncertainty, unexpected events, moments that test your resilience. But responsibility ensures that you control one thing that matters deeply: your response. You choose whether challenges discourage you or strengthen you. You choose whether setbacks stop your progress or refine your strategy. You choose whether your potential remains an idea or becomes reality. And that choice, repeated consistently over time, becomes one of the most powerful forces in shaping your life. The moment you take full responsibility for your potential is the moment your life stops being something that simply happens to you. It becomes something you actively build, day by day, choice by choice, effort by effort. And from that moment forward, your future is no longer defined by circumstances alone. It is defined by the seriousness with which you approach your own potential. As you reach the end of this audiobook, there is one idea worth holding on to longer than the others. Most people spend years looking for the secret that will suddenly change their life. They search for the perfect opportunity, the perfect strategy, the perfect moment when everything finally aligns. But if you look closely at the lives of people who build something meaningful, their turning point rarely begins with any of those things. It begins with a decision, a quiet decision that often happens long before the results appear. The decision to take their own life seriously, not in a dramatic way, not through loud declarations or unrealistic promises, but through small, consistent actions that slowly reshape who they become. They begin respecting their time. They begin honoring the promises they make to themselves. They begin showing up for their goals, even when motivation disappears. And little by little, that seriousness begins transforming everything. Because the moment you take yourself seriously, your habits change. When your habits change, your standards begin to rise. When your standards rise, your identity begins to evolve. And once your identity evolves, your entire direction in life begins to shift. At first, the changes may seem invisible. Progress might feel slow. Some days will feel easier than others, and there will still be moments when doubt appears. That is part of the process. Growth is rarely dramatic in the beginning, but if you continue showing up, something remarkable happens over time. The person you are becoming slowly replaces the person you used to be. Your discipline becomes stronger, your focus becomes clearer, your confidence becomes quieter but more solid, and eventually you begin noticing something you may not have expected. The things that once felt difficult begin to feel normal. The habits that once required enormous effort become part of your routine. The standards you once struggled to maintain become the baseline you refuse to fall below. This is how transformation truly happens, not through sudden bursts of inspiration, but through repeated decisions to act with intention. Each day you choose progress over comfort. Each day you protect your time and your attention. Each day you invest effort into becoming slightly better than you were yesterday. And as those days accumulate, your life begins to reflect the seriousness you bring to it. The world responds differently to people who respect their own potential. Opportunities begin appearing in places they once overlooked. Trust begins growing among the people around them. But the most important change happens internally. They stop questioning whether they are capable because they have already proven it to themselves through action. And perhaps that is the most valuable outcome of all, not just success, but self-respect. The quiet knowledge that you did not ignore your potential, that you did not postpone your life indefinitely, that you chose to build something meaningful with the time you were given. Because at the end of the day, every person eventually faces the same question, not whether they were capable of more, but whether they treated their life with the seriousness it deserved. And if there is one idea worth remembering after this audiobook ends, it is this. Success does not begin with talent. It does not begin with luck. And it does not begin with perfect conditions. Success begins the day you decide that your life is no longer something you will treat casually. The day you stop waiting. The day you stop negotiating with your potential. The day you take yourself seriously. And from that moment forward, everything begins to change. And now, as we come to the end of this journey, remember one thing. Your life will not change simply because you understand a powerful idea. It changes when you decide to act on it. Taking yourself seriously means respecting your time, keeping the promises you make to yourself, raising your standards, and refusing to let excuses control your future. You don't need to transform everything overnight. You simply need to become a little more intentional every single day. If this audiobook gave you a new perspective, take a moment to think about one idea that stayed with you. Then ask yourself a simple question. What is one thing I can change starting today? If you enjoyed this audiobook, make sure to subscribe to Risethink and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next book and the next idea that could change the way you think. And if you want to support Risethink even more, consider joining the channel membership. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content designed to help you learn, grow, and think differently. Thank you for spending your time with Risethink. Keep learning, keep improving, keep questioning what you believe, and most importantly, don't just think about the life you want, start building it. I'll see you in the next one.